Welcome to another edition of Ag Nerds, joined today by Peter Gredig from Agnition. Welcome today, Peter.
Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Good. Pete, I heard you got a new toy.
Yeah, I do. Check this out, man. I was probably one of the first guys. This is the Playbook. It's
Cool.
the new tablet from BlackBerry. It goes with your BlackBerry device. I'm one day in, so we're not going to talk about it too much today. But on the next Ag Nerd segment, we're going to break it down, the good, the bad, how it compares to iPad, and we may even have to get our iPad expert back to go toe to toe. But anyway, so far it's cool. There are a few deficiencies. There are a few things they're going to need to fix. But we'll talk about it more next time.
Okay, cool. So, Pete, this week we're going to talk a little bit about the power of lists and finding out what's happening in Canadian agriculture. And we kind of discovered a bit of a cool tool, the way to do that. And it's on Twitter. So, you're on Twitter.
Yeah, you know what? I got to tell you, I've probably been on and off Twitter 2 or 3 times. Some rough starts. I didn't really get it. I wasn't following the right people. Gassed it. And you and I were talking earlier. One of the things that got me invigorated about it again was last spring. I got a few of my neighbors to get on Twitter, and it was like a little mini network. It worked awesome. But I know what you're going to talk about today is going to take us to the next level, beyond our neighborhood, and sort of take the thing national and global. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah. Okay, so I've always kind of used the search, right? So the hashtags where we have the pound sign and then word beside it, whether it's Maple Leafs or Flames, or use it for sports. So in agriculture we use in Canada we use West CDN Ag for Western Canada, and for Ontario we use OnTag. And so those searches work really well. But one of the huge issues is that if people don't put that hashtag in their tweets, which can be annoying on a mobile device, they don't show up, right? And so you look at those OnTag and Western Canadian Ag hashtags, they're not really flowing, they're not real, there's not a lot of tweets that are going in there. And have you been using those hashtags a lot?
I got to admit, I haven't been. I use them when I search, but I'm not putting those hashtags in when I do my posting. So that's something I'll start to do. That's a good prompt, because then it feeds the mill, and then it becomes more valuable for everybody else that's trying to find that content, right?
Yeah, exactly. So because of this, what I did is I started to look into the list feature. Now the list feature is super cool because it doesn't require, once people are into a list and categorized, you don't need to worry about the hashtags anymore. So one of the things that I hear lots from new Twitterers, I guess, new tweeters, is that who do I follow? How do I, and you said you're following the wrong people, right? So in this example, we're going to go through the Canadian Ag list that I created, which is basically everybody in Canada that is a part of Canadian agriculture. So that allows you to figure out, one, you can follow the list and see what people are saying, but also gives you an idea about who you can follow, and you can follow people from that list. So Pete, in order to find the list, so we do it like I mentioned, we have the URL below, okay? But if you're on Twitter and you want to find these lists, so if you look on the screen here, I'm logged into my Haney Farms account. I'm not currently following the list, but I'm gonna find this Canadian Ag list, okay? So I go into search. So what I do is I want to go to I'm going to search Sean Haney, because I know that Sean Haney created the list. Okay, so I go to Sean Haney's page. Click on View Full Profile. Okay.
Right.
So that comes up. Okay, so then what I do is I click on, I can see there, lists. So I click on that list tab, and I can see all the lists that Sean Haney is following and all the lists that he created. So list by Sean Haney, click on Canadian Agriculture. See? So this is where I say that's cool, okay? So then what I can do is I can say, okay, well, in my Haney Farms account, I can say, well, I want to follow this list. So I click follow, and it maybe works. Follow this list. There. So we're following the list.
Right. And you just have to remember that you've got your main feed, right? And that'll be the people you've selected to follow. And if you want to check the list, you have to go to your list.
Yes. Right? Yeah. So, okay. So if we look at that list, we click on that drop down and click on Canadian agriculture. Right. We now see the home feed of that list. Okay?
Right.
So you can scroll down and see what everybody in Canadian agriculture is saying.
It's a good list. I got to tell you that I've been building my main feed page, for about a year now, and you sent me that list a few days ago, right? And I had to get a little help from you to get it loaded up, but it's pretty cool to see the number of people involved with organizations and on the company side and producers as well. It's pretty comprehensive. Yeah. It's a good place to start.
So what you can do is you can from this list, so you click on View List Page. Okay, so what it does, it now takes you to the list page of the list, and so what you can do is you see tweets. So that's the tweets of everybody in the list. Following. So what the following is this is basically everybody that I've put in the list in order. Okay.
Okay.
So what this does is it says, okay, so Fred Sinclair from AgriLion Genetics, who's actually a Canadian that's now working in the U.S., but he qualifies for the list. We've got Shoe Wine Coffee, Kate Roberts. She's in agriculture. So you can basically see it here, okay? So you scroll down, see, and so then what you can do is you can select, well, okay, who do I want to follow? Maybe you don't have to follow all of them, just the ones maybe that you're interested in, because this is a national list, right?
Yeah.
So you can see here, Manitoba Rural Adaptation Council, MRAC. Okay, I'm not following them. Well, I'll follow them. So it's just that easy. I click on that, and now I'm following them. I could also, if I wanted to, I could unfollow people from this list. So that's kind of a really cool way to see who you should be following. Okay, so
let me ask you something, Sean. Do you do this? Obviously, you're doing this at your desktop now. I'll be honest with you. I think I've been on my desktop version of Twitter maybe twice. I really see it as a mobile tool. I do it when I'm on the fly.
Yeah.
If you're going to do this list building or editing, is it easier on the desktop? Gotta be.
It is probably easier to do the editing. It is easier, but truth be told, okay, here's something that's really cool. So I use on my BlackBerry, I use the Twitter app. Okay.
Yeah, I use Uber Twitter.
Okay, so you use Uber Twitter, but you can access these lists from your handheld, right? So I would usually do list maintenance. Setting up which lists I want to follow. I would do that on my desktop, but in terms of seeing what's happening and accessing that list, you can do it on your BlackBerry, or your iPhone or whatever. So Twitter has really improved the list, so it's really really easy to access and to use.
Right. I hadn't even known about the list functionality until you helped me out with that the other day, and it is really cool. You can bump that list in there. I've started creating my own list of sort of Ontario corn soybean guys.
Yep.
So yeah, you start to be able to build those lists that really target your interest. You could start a list that was just on zero tillage guys, or whatever your area of specific interest is. That's the power of those lists, right?
Yeah. What's really cool then is then you can as I said, you can follow the list. Okay. So where the confusion happens is that people sort of assume that this is totally different than your home feed, right? So your home feed is that first thing you see, that all the tweets showing up of people you're following. You don't have to follow everybody in this list. You basically can follow the list if you choose, right? So when you click on following, right now there's 23 people. These are people that are basically following this list, okay? And so you, and it kind of gives you that list. So that's your option. That's what's different, right? So sometimes people have a hard time sort of seeing past that home page, right? And so they don't want to follow too many people because that home feed gets very, very intimidating, gets very, very noisy. Using lists is a way to make Twitter way less noisy. Make sure you're getting the information that you're interested in that day.
Well, the other really good piece of advice I think you gave me was that because you follow someone doesn't mean that you're obligated to follow them forever and ever. If you're not getting value from following them, or they're talking about things that are, they're in a different mindset or whatever.
Yeah.
This thing is, the I think once you get over the fact that really all the thing is sending you little short messages as they're generated, that's what Twitter is. But it's all about the people, right? And the content and what they're saying. And if you want Twitter to be valuable for you, it's really about finding the right people and the good information.
Well, and that's right. So you can, as you look at the tweets from the Canadian Agriculture List, what you can see is basically everything that's kind of happening, right? So people are commenting on the weather. People here, Scouting Fields is putting up some elevator pricing. What he's
Right.
hearing. University of Guelph is talking about some horse handling clinics. There's Rebecca Hannum. So there's a really good, there's me. I just uploaded a video on the beef market update. So, it basically allows you to kind of capture kind of what's happening. Okay, Pete. So if I go back to my to my homepage and my Haney Farms account, because we just added Haney Farms just started to follow this list. So now I'm on my homepage. If I click on lists, it now shows lists you follow, Canadian Agriculture. So I click on the list, boom, now I'm in the list feed. The other neat thing though is if I go back to my home screen, you can see it shows Haney Farms listed 12 times. So this basically shows you who's listed you, right? And so then you can see, well, who thought, so here's somebody has listed me in agriculture, or someone's listed Haney Farms. So Trent Adams has created an agriculture list, and he's listed Haney Farms in that list. So that's kind of cool. So you can decide if you want to follow the list or whatever you want to do, right? So that's kind of neat. So you click on the listed 12, and it shows all the different lists that people have created that involve your account.
Right, the lists start to get powerful, right? I think the main message today is that the following lists or searching lists, being part of lists is a good way to get there in a hurry with Twitter, right? Yeah. The one thing that I've found about it, and I hope this stays this way, is it is an extremely positive medium right now. You don't get a lot of, I don't want to be negative about some of the chat forums, but people they have agendas or opinions and can get kind of bogged down. So far, Twitter is, because it's so short, I think it limits people's ability to do rants, and you have to cut to the chase and make your point. And so far, and I hope it stays this way, it's very positive. I find it anyway. Maybe I'm following positive people, but it's a constructive tool as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So what we would encourage people to do is to look below in the YouTube video or on realagriculture.com. We'll have the links to the Canadian Agriculture list that I created, or Canadian farmers, and follow those lists, check them out. And I really think it's going to improve and enhance your Twitter experience, because I think a lot of people I was just the same, Pete. I got onto Twitter probably 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, and I knew nobody on there. Had no clue who to follow. I had no idea what was going on, and I left it. And now, what I think lists like this allow you to do is to kind of get right away engaged with the people that have some common interests.
Right, and you skip over that a year basically that you and I have been building our Twitter contacts.
Yeah.
This allows you to start with that big list, and then you can winnow it down to the ones that you see value in. So, but yeah, it's not going away anytime soon, and the number of farmers that are starting to grab it and participate tells me that we're onto something here.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's like a virtual coffee shop, and we like that. That's what farmers do anyway, right? This just allows us to do it with more people across greater geographic area.
Yeah, cool. Kate, that sounds good, Pete. We'll see you again on the next episode of Ag Nerds.
Can't wait. We'll talk playbook.
Sounds good. Playbook is next. Talk to you there.
Yeah.